I'm Jordan Malette. I do the Ontario scouting at Puckpreps, leading the OHL draft coverage there. At Puckpreps, we do all the CHL drafts, but my responsibility is the OHL draft. This is my third season doing this. Before that, I was a coach here in the Ottawa area, coaching in the old Ottawa U18 AAA system, which it has changed now, but back in the day at that time, it encompassed the draft year kids. So I've always been kind of familiar with the draft, working with them, and for about 10 years or so now. Prior to that, I was playing. I definitely wasn't a high-end player on the OHL pathway, but played some junior out here in Ottawa. So that's a bit about me. Hockey growing up all my life, and now just staying involved in some way doing OHL draft work. There isn't really a consensus number one, but I think depending on who you ask, you're going to hear four different names that could be deserving of the first overall pick, and that's Cam Warren, Charlie Murata, Jacko Wysick, and Max DeLille. Those are the four names you'll hear often kind of in this top four group. Maybe you throw Caden McGregor in there, but I think it's really those four names that are in contention for first overall, that if the Petes win the lottery, those are the four names I would expect to be one of them to be picking from. Cam Warren, to me, is currently my number one. He's been there all year, but again, depending on who you ask, you might get him at 3 or 4. He's a little bit on the smaller side, 5'9", I believe, but he's just a rambunctious go, always motoring up and down the ice, relentless on pucks, and just as that bulldog centerman who elevates everyone around him. So like, to me, when I start talking about a player that way, even if they're not the biggest centerman, like, they just make everyone around them better, and is someone that I would personally want to build around. But depending on the makeup of a team, they may go a different direction, right? So that's one of them. Charlie Murata is currently number 2 for me. He's a big, fluid, strong winger who just is so effortless skating up and down the ice. Really smart playmaker. Again, someone that makes anybody he plays with better, and just you can see how you put him with anybody and he can kind of drive things even though he's playing winger, and just is an elite playmaker and has that physical skating and frame that you can see how he can handle the OHL pace no problem. Max DeLille is really strong, two-way, defensively responsible centerman. Wins battles, does those little things right to link plays together, win pucks, get pucks up ice. He plays on probably one of the best lines in U16 hockey this year with Jeremy Freeman and Michael Tang. And he just does all the little things to get the puck to the offensive zone for those two guys, and really makes that line tick. So kind of similar to Colin Fitzgerald in some ways when you're talking about that 200-foot physical centerman that goes up and down the ice. I would say a little bit more of a playmaker than Fitzgerald, was a little bit more of a shooter in his U16 year, but similar makeup there. And the last one is Jacko Wysick out of Sun County, who, again, another centerman. So 3 centermen. Obviously the centermen go early. Another bigger, fluid, really effortless skater who you just watch him motor around the ice. It looks like he's playing in slow motion, but he's gaining strides on people, can handle pucks in motion, and really can just beat guys wide, cut in, and you can see how he has like the physical characteristics to play at the OHL level. So there's a lot of different profiles in here, where there's kind of the small Energizer Bunny and Warren, and some more physical, imposing centermans and DeLille and Wysick, a little bit more finesse, but still a bigger body. But so there's a lot of interesting options here. From day one, it's kind of been these 4 guys in the top 5. They've all had great showings. Like, I thought Cam Warren was fantastic at the Whitby Silver Stick. At the Oakville Rangers tournament, Charlie Murata was fantastic. Like, they've all had their moments where they were the best player on the ice for a weekend. But no, there hasn't been like a meteoric rise from, this guy was 15 and because of this performance, he's climbed his way up. I think these guys have always been in sort of this top 5 conversation. If we go down a little bit, there's guys that have risen, but if we're talking in the lottery, I think these guys have been pretty constant in this conversation since October or so. I would think Charlie Murata, maybe, like, if we're describing Max DeLille as kind of up the same alley as Colin Fitzgerald. You can never have too many centermen, but I think, that elite high-end winger might be something that they're looking at, especially when he's, has the big frame and he can fly up and down the ice, really smart playmaker. That's where I go, maybe that's a guy that complements Colin Fitzgerald really well, and can really be that future first-line right winger for them, right? So, you can never have too many centermen, but there's not that many high-end wingers that come along like Charlie Morata, so I would totally get that one if the Petes end up going that direction. But again, I think it's dependent on the lottery and how that goes. So everything I put out is on Twitter, or we have an Instagram as well, but our final list will be coming out after the OHL Cup. It'll be a top 100 with probably 100 or so like longer honorable mention watch list sort of depth rankings. So you can look out for that after the OHL Cup. But yeah, everything, social media, normal stuff, puckpreps.com, and that's where you can find everything.